live from Big 12 Media Days, where Brett Yormark took the stage to begin things, as every conference commissioner does, Drake, and went up there and loudly and proudly said, I want 5+11. I think Jim Phillips and the ACC is going to do the same. That's what we're going to push for, because there's been a lot of blowback from some pretty big names in the college football world saying, no, this 5+11 idea is a disaster. And if they were to go to 16, Brett Yormark saying yes on 5+11. I like that model. You like that model too.
I do, and I like what Brett Yormark said today. He was posed the question, okay, if you go 5+11, you saw the committee last year not give your conference very much love, and maybe part of that is the preseason ranking, and that's where Yormark says we can do away with it. We thought that Arizona State was disadvantaged by that ranking, so now let's do the little things that we can put our conference in a better spot when it comes to the college football playoff committee meeting in a room. And he said, I have a lot of confidence in Mack Rhoades, who's the athletic director at Baylor, who will head the committee. And he said, I have a lot of confidence in an audit that's being done right now on how they choose college football playoff participants. SMU got in last year. They did the, quote, right thing by passing over an SEC squad and giving SMU that nod. I think that gives Yormark a little bit more confidence that moving forward, the committee won't screw the Big 12. In a format where you wave the white flag and say, yeah, I don't know, just give the SEC and the Big 10 whatever they want, you have officially created the ultimate schism in college football. There are now two conferences and everybody else. And that's already kind of a thing. But Yormark, in what he said today and talking about Jim Phillips working closely with the ACC, made it clear he's taking a stand. And I don't think that a dead man takes a stand the way Yormark did. I don't think he stands up on that stage in the stadium and says, we need 5+11 and I will fight tooth and nail. We're going to get it. You don't say that if you don't actually believe you can find a way to get through to Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey and have those guys loop it in. And I mentioned that as I was saying that earlier on my show, Yormark walked right behind me, sat in the chair next to me. And I just like, this is a guy that is an impeccable businessman. Business has been the theme all day here at Media Days. And I do not believe he'll stand to be strong-armed on this. Now, he also loves college football in a sensical way. He was the same guy that was more than happy to sign up for the auto bids, or the auto buy, I should say, for conference champions being done away with and just rank the teams 1 through 12 as good as they are. He likes to see it played out on the field. He's not going to say, oh, well, now you're taking away a better spot for my conference to get a buy and me to get more money. No, he's very reasonable about college football. He's not pie in the sky. So him saying this today shows me he actually has the full confidence that 5+11 is the model.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about, or one of the interesting things about this whole discussion is I do actually think that Yormark and some more pro Big 12 people have a point when they say, hey, these preseason rankings are screwing us. These preseason rankings are altering the perception of our league. I'm not going to push back on that entirely, because I do think with Arizona State, there's some legitimacy to that. I mean, they wouldn't have been heavily considered. They were a 10-2 team in the regular season of the Big 12. Would they have even sniffed if they hadn't made the Big 12 championship game with all the tiebreakers anything resembling a playoff berth? No, of course not. Whereas Miami did, even in the ACC, or the 9-3 SEC teams had all of this lobbying. But the way that I look at it is you then have to, and Brett Yormark has talked about this before, and I like this mentality, you have to then look internally and say, okay, if this is the game, we may not like how this game gets played and how you shift the perception of your schools and of your league in the eyes of some people who are not always coming to our games. But there is work that can be done. The SEC didn't get to the point where some people give them an inherent advantage in their mind by accident, by coincidence, by random. They didn't go and bribe the people directly. No, they went out and they, for many years, put results and a product on the field that made everybody look around and go, oh, yeah, we think this league's better. And then they leaned into the media and the marketing side of it to, shift the perception of their conference to where it just means more. It's the SEC bias and all this sort of stuff. I think the Big 12 is now realizing, okay, we've got to go and play that game. And what do you know? There are 3 5-star players committed in the Big 12 in the class of 2026. That wasn't a thing when you didn't have Texas and Oklahoma considering into those conversations. And I think we're in the very early stages of it, but I just get the sense, Drake, that they are working to try and shift that perception. I think it can shift. I think Arizona State's game against Texas last year in the national quarterfinal was a huge step in shifting the perception of the Big 12 to make people go, wait a minute. They were picked to finish. Like I get the no preseason poll thing. Okay. But Arizona State picked to finish last. They go toe to toe with the runners up in the SEC. That's got to do something. And if you go and do that over and over again over the course of several years, I do think that narrative can shift.
Well, and what it's going to take is a lack of parity. Yormark said he loves parity. Parity's fun. It's great. But the MAC has parity. Toledo could beat Miami of Ohio any given Tuesday. And in the Big 12, Yormark said we need two schools. We need a couple of schools, is what he said, to be elite, to grow into, because it's fun right now, but we need brands at the very top of this league.
Texas
That's what's going to help the Big...
Sorry,
BYU Tech, the two schools that are giving the most in NIL money and landing 5 stars, BYU and Texas Tech, seem to be those stalwarts. And if they can win consistently in football and men's basketball, you continue to grow your brand. In the ACC, there's Clemson and Florida State. And Miami's in there, yeah, for sure. But Clemson and Florida State are your two. I mean, if you have a third auxiliary brand and a fourth and a fifth, or whatever, that's fine. But the Big 12 needs a couple of universities that will carry this conference off into the sunset and showcase that the league can actually compete for national championships, something you have not done since Oklahoma and Texas left. And if I look around the league right now, I don't see a national champion in 2025. But in 2026, if Texas Tech builds on what it's doing in the transfer portal and with NIL, if BYU builds on its incredible recruiting because of its NIL prowess and power, if Colorado finds a way under Dion to continue, if Houston, you're sitting in a recruiting hotbed. I mean, a beautiful place to say, oh, do you want grandma to come to all of your games? And I haven't said this on your show yet. 3 years from now, we might look up and go, Willie Fritz is the best coach in the Big 12. There's a chance. There's a chance
he's good.
That a couple of these Big 12 schools could become that. And once you have that, it won't matter what model you use. And that's why Yormark wants the 5+11, mostly because if you do use that one model that says no matter what, the SEC gets this number, the Big 12 gets this number, then you're gonna lose out when you have a team finish 5th in the country, 6th in the country, and then Colorado's at like 13 and somehow gets left out for an SEC school because the committee will always have a certain bias toward the network that funds them.
Yeah. Do you know, I love the Willie Fritz love, by the way.
Isn't that crazy?
You want to hear
I said that?
It's not, because here's a list of teams this year that in my Big 12 preseason power rankings, I have behind Houston. Kansas, BYU, Colorado, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Arizona, West Virginia, UCF.
Wow.
All behind Houston.
Schools.
I was this close. If not for Josh Hoover, who I like more than Connor Wigman. If not for Josh Hoover, I would have put Houston above TCU. I would have done it. I think Willie Fritz is that kind of guy.
3 years from now, we're going to look up and go, shoot, he did it. He recruited his backyard. He did the transfer portal. He got a 5-star quarterback. I mean,
big news.
This could be the thing.
Landed a former 5-star quarterback in the portal, recruited a 5-star quarterback who wants to go to Houston so badly, he didn't take official visits. He said, nah, forget everybody else. Houston's where I want to go. That's the beginning of a potential changing of the winds, shall we say.
Cojones. He's got cojones. Yeah, Big 12 Media Days has been spectacular. Cast of characters has been awesome. Ran into, you run into everybody, and everyone seems to be standing on business as it speaks. And that's a cliche, but there were no sound bites. There were little to no sound bites because it's just each of these coaches feels like they have as good of a shot as the next guy to win the Big 12 title, because they do. We learned that last year. And Brett Yormark said, look, here's what I believe about college football, and I'm not going to sway from it.
Yeah, a lot of personalities there. You could even run into the party animals guy. Did you know that he's there? Did you know that he's there? A lot of people
are taking a lot of pictures. They're getting a lot of autographs. And this one guy in a floral shirt.
Yeah, big popularity there. Drake Toll locked on Big 12, or Drake 12, as we call him here on the show. Yeah, I have heard the exact same. I've also heard that SMU is getting overlooked in the ACC, or are they?